Lucky Kid. Lucky has been on the radio in Hutchinson for 19 years and was broadcast into Hutchinson for several years before that. He will share some of his more interesting experiences, including his other high-altitude experience and some Hutchinson radio trivia. He'll also answer the question he gets asked more than any other. The answer isn't as exotic as you might think.
First off, the answer to the question everybody asked me, Lucky Kid is my real name. Birth certificate says so, even if Facebook does not believe it. No exotic story to it. I'm named after great-great-grandfather on my mom's side of the family, Lucky Thomas Tyndall. No big exotic story about that. 2:39 a.m. when some night people are ending their day, most folks still asleep, and some stupid folks are doing what they should not be. My day's just beginning. Important fact of life. I don't function very well until I've had that first shot of caffeine. For those of us in the broadcasting industry, that's our fifth food group. This is the newscape at Astor Radio, from which I do about 180 newscasts a week. Not really a big office, but compared to what some folks I know work out of, it's a mini palace. This is also the place where a lot of our weather reports come from, of the routine. Just remember this one fact that was once pointed out by meteorologist Mike Smith. I don't make the weather, I just report it. This is a place I hang out a lot, the Reno County version of Night Court, where some of the better dumb crick stories take place as people try to explain themselves, by the way, they really shouldn't, hoping to get out of spending little or no money with the bail bond folks. Judge Cheryl Allen usually answers that with, that will be a no. I spend a lot of time at meetings, various kinds, various places. One thing about those meetings, sometimes the very routine items that look like on the agenda will take forever, and the really big stuff gets done quickly. I've seen meetings done in 5 minutes, and I have seen other meetings take 5 hours. Another thing I do is sports. Mainly I do play-by-play for basketball and baseball, daily sports reports, occasional football game. Also cover other sports ranging from track and golf, international pancake race, and liberal once, where I was chased by a bunch of skillet-wielding women while in the back of the lead truck. Real interesting experience to watch that race. Along with the radio, I also do a little bit of freelance newspaper writing with the Lions News. Many folks still refer to that publication as the Dinky Daily, even though it only comes out twice a week now. When they first started, it was a 4x5-inch paper. The basis for Twitter may have started in Rice County, Kansas. My career in radio began at KWLS 1290 in Pratt. That was part of the Larry Steckline broadcast empire, which at one time included what is now my 93.1 in Hutchinson. 93.1 was how I was introduced to Hutchinson Radio. When I started, some Sunday programming still originated from the Pratt studio, and I was on the air every Sunday morning from 8 to noon. KWLS is now KMMM, a very directional 5,000 watts. Some places that doesn't sound like much, but here on the Great Plains, it can do a lot, thanks to something we'll call ground conductivity, a.k.a. the best dirt on Earth. Good example of it, just across the street south at our friends at KWBW. At night, as you probably know, they have a lot of difficulty making it even to Medora. However, if you go to the south and a lot of the East Coast, BW's nighttime signal would be called an improvement. Daytime. In fact, you can do more coverage in parts of Kansas on 500 watts than some stations do with 50,000. Right after World War II, a U.S. Army veteran came to BW. His name is Todd Storrs. Only here a brief time, but he went on to change the face of American broadcasting. Back in his hometown of Omaha, he and his father bought a little 500-watt AM radio station, KOWH. That's where Talk 20 Radio was born. Everyone now working in commercial radio in Hutch has a tie through Storrs to Jack Sampson. Jack Sampson worked for Storrs, including managing Oklahoma's legendary KOMA, before coming to Hutchinson, where he bought the original KSKU, then go through Cliff Shank and Mark Trotman to all the rest of us. Another bit of little radio trivia to tell you about. Today's KWHK is at Astor Radio's oldies station at 95.9, but from 1946 to 1993, KWHK was on AM, first a daytime-only station at 1190, then in the early 50s to 1260 at full-time. In the early 60s, HK on AM made an unsuccessful bid to do something that would have been a game changer in Kansas broadcasting. They sought to change to a new frequency the FCC authorized for the region that would have brought a power increase to 50,000 watts full time. A 5-year legal battle ensued. The frequency ended up going to a radio station in Guymon, Oklahoma, today owned by Greg Steckline, whose father I once worked for. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the KSKU brand in Hutchinson. The original station started in 1968, partly owned and managed by the legendary Hutchinson. By the way, a Sports Broadcast Award is presented annually by the Kansas Association of Broadcasters, named for the first TV sportscaster in Kansas. Over the years, KSKU has been on 4 different frequencies, from 1968 to 1985 at 102.1, then from 86 to 97 at 106.1, 97 to 2006 at 197.1, and since 2006 at the current 94.7 frequency. Top 40 radio since 1975. This was our home from 86 to our September 2011 fire. Over the years, I've had a lot of interesting experiences, most recent of which was last month when I and 95 other crazy people went over the edge, raised a lot of money for the United Way. This was not my first high-altitude experience. Late 90s, I got to watch the U.S. Army Golden Knights parachute team do a jump from their C-130 transport with the back end open over Liberal. Then there was a time that in 2008, thanks to my friends at the Hutchinson News who took a photo of that experience, I got my 15 minutes of worldwide fame. Only about 3,900 calories of hot dogs with buns, and I've got the State Fair purple ribbon to prove it. A lot of stories about legendary commentator Paul Harvey, and now I'm going to show you my Paul Harvey story. Every day he ended his midday show with a story called the What It's Worth Department. Had a story about a guy from Overland Park who did something really stupid. After his trademark good day, I declared to God and about half of Greensburg on KWLS that was only one thing good about Johnson County. It's a girl I went to high school with who played a very small yet very important role in my life. Rhonda, she's the one on the left, is the one I'm talking about. If you've ever met her, you know why, and she still is. Rhonda had an important role in my life when I needed it. I've had a role in other people's lives when they've needed it. And hopefully, you'll have that someday role for somebody.